Good Yontif, Gemar Chatima Tova. We wish you a meaningful fast if you're fasting with us on this day of Yom Kippur. We have many people who have allowed us to be here tonight. We want to thank you for tuning in. We want to thank so many others, including our wonderful staff and clergy team that has worked so hard to put these services together for you. We're so thankful to our congregational choir and our quartet as well. We're also very thankful to our radio partners, for those of you who are listening now on WICR 88.7. During our services tonight, we hope that you will stand and sit as is comfortable for you. We also will be guiding you through the service in that way. We also hope that you have Mishkan HaNefesh with you, this Machzor prayer book for the High Holy Days. We'll be announcing page numbers there. There is an online version if you choose to use it as well. It is filled with inspirational readings that will allow us to enter the themes of Yom Kippur together. Together we have arrived at what the rabbis call in the Talmud Yoma, the day. There are some years where we need to conjure the drama, surround ourselves with symbols of mortality to inhabit the feeling of vulnerability that our ancestors intended, but not this year. We know too well the fragility of life and of breath. It has been inescapable. We are witnessing the toll that the coronavirus is taking, the greed that has led to vast income inequality, a criminal justice system that has lost its way, a swelling bigotry that continues to be violently expressed. We are in no need of greater drama to achieve the potency of arriving at the start of this day. We are all living uneasily with uncertainty. The reality of most of our lives is meeting Yom Kippur directly. The Baal Shem Tov, great storyteller of our tradition, was no stranger to tumultuous and dangerous times. The Baal Shem Tov understood that in difficult times, we must surrender and accept the pain that we are living in now. This is our moment to express our awe and our fear, and then we can open ourselves to grief. Yom Kippur can assist us in removing the facade, stripping back the layers, releasing the lie so that we can encounter the truth of our lives. And though it can feel raw or tender, it is where we find authenticity as well and our resilience. Our service begins with the sounding of Kol Nidre, those ancient words, ancient melodies that bring us fully into this moment. It is a pleasure, as always, to welcome Paulina and Konstantin Umansky. Our service begins in our Machzor on page 9. At this point, we'd like to ask you to rise as you are able. We continue on page 15. Kol Nidre, a chant that begins in a whisper and rises to a cry. On this night of promises remembered, each soul in solitude communes with the soul of the universe. O God, from this day of atonement to the next, may we reach it in peace. All Israel makes these vows, to turn from wrong, dishonesty, and greed, to walk in the path of justice and right. And yet we know our weaknesses, how prone we are to fail. Help us to keep our word. Help us to act with humility and integrity. We seek pardon and forgiveness. We seek your radiance and light. Yeshiva shel mala uv'yeshiva shel mata al dat hamakom ve'al dat kahal anu matirim lehitpalel im ha'avaryanim. With one voice, assembled sages past and present declare, all may pray as one on this night of repentance. Let none be excluded from our community of prayer. With one voice, God and congregation proclaim, all may pray as one on this day of return. Let all find a place in this sacred assembly. Page 18. Vayomer Adonai, salachti kidvarecha, and God responded, I forgive as you have asked.
continue on page 28. You are my witness, says Adonai. God is the first, God is the last. There is no God but Adonai. Testify for me, says Adonai. In your love for me, teach your children, embracing Torah now and forever. We accept God's sovereignty and reverence, treating others with love, studying Torah. May this be our will as we witness. Please be seated. So much that is meaningful to me about Judaism, I love from my parents, and they in turn learned from theirs. The Ve'ahavta at its core instructs us to pass the love of Judaism from one generation to the next. It is not enough just to think about Jewish values. Instead, we are commanded to live up to these values in the words that we speak and the actions that we take. When our ideals match our daily lives, then we are embodying the call of this prayer. The poet Marge Piercy wrote a beautiful version of the Ve'ahavta that I will share with you now. She wrote, "So you shall love what is holy with all of your courage, with all of your passion, with all of your strength. Let the words that have come down shine on our actions and our words. We must teach our children to know and understand them. We must speak about what is good and holy within our homes, when we are working, when we are at play, when we lie down, and when we get up. Let the words of our hands speak goodness. Let it run in our blood. Let it glow from our doors and our windows. We should love ourselves, for we are God. We should love our neighbor as ourselves. We should love the stranger, for we were once strangers in the land of Egypt, and we have been strangers in the lands of all the world ever since. Let love fill our hearts with its clear, precious water. Heaven and earth observe how we cherish and spoil our earth. Heaven and earth watch whether we choose life or choose death. We must choose life so our children's children may live. Be quiet and listen to that still, small voice. That voice within that speaks in love. Open to that voice, hear it, heed it, for it will work for life. Let us remember to strive to be good. Let us remember to find what is holy within and without. May we be able to live up to the ideals in our new year, 5781. We continue now with the Michal Mocha on page 40. On page 45. For on this day of atonement shall be made for you, to purify you from all your wrongs, and pure you will stand in the presence of Adonai. The Amidah remembers those who came before us. These individuals had a big impact on our lives, in our world, and on our religion. The Amidah mentions each of our ancestors individually. Separating them out from one another allows for their unique and special contributions to shine through. And recognizing them as individuals, as well as the collective impact that they made, it also creates space for future generations for their contributions to Judaism and to our world to shine through. So let us honor those who came before us and those who will come after us, as we now turn to the Amidah, which begins on page 46. Please rise.
Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi agite hilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak ve'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel ve'Elohei Leah Ha'el hagadol hagibor ve'hanora El Elyon gomel chasadim tovim וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. זוכרנו לחיים, מלך חפץ בחיים, וחותמנו בספר החיים, למענך אלוהים חיים. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה, רב להושיע מוריד הטל. מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, צומח נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך אל הרחמים, מי כמוך אל הרחמים, זוכה יצורה חיים ברחמים. ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל, ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי הכל.
Please be seated. We continue now with the reading on page 71. On this night of atonement, grant us, God, a sense of your presence as we call upon your name. Speak your hopeful message to each yearning heart and answer the worthy petitions of each searching soul. Purify and strengthen our noble strivings and cleanse us of our unworthy desires. Join us together in fellowship and in love, and grant us the joy which comes from enriching other lives. Help us to be loyal to the heritage we share. Draw us near to Torah in wisdom and in faith. Strengthen our devotion to our people everywhere. Keep alive our faith in righteousness and truth. Bless us with the hopes to uplift our daily lives and keep steadfast our courage and our resolve at all times. On this night of atonement, help us, God, to be worthy of your presence as we call upon your name. Beautiful. So on Sunday mornings, when I don't have temple obligations, I love to go for a run and then come back and read the newspaper. While during the week I am content to read the news on my phone, I find it extremely luxurious to sit on a Sunday morning with an actual paper in my hands, to sit in my dining room and make my way through the paper. And while I do enjoy doing this very much, I have to admit that sometimes I dread it as well. Often our news is so full of stories about people in pain, or systematic injustices, or natural disasters. I like to be informed of what is happening in the world, but sometimes I find it difficult and depressing too. Right now, it feels like the world that we are living in is so far from the one that we wish we inhabited. This reality is underscored by reading the news. But yet, I firmly believe that there is hope too. There's always been hope, and there will always be hope that things will get better. In the Greek myth about Pandora's box, the last thing that escaped from that box was hope. So hope has been part of the human existence from the beginning, and I believe it still shines upon us now. It helps us connect with our own lights, with our power and our ability to make things better. During our personal prayer this evening, we are blessed to hear the beautiful voices of our cantor and our amazing choir, who will be singing Shalom Rav for us. This prayer emphasizes our longing for peace and the hopes that God will help bring and bestow peace upon us. In this prayer, we are not only thanking God for the preciousness of peace, but acknowledging that we can play a role in helping to bring about that peace. We turn now to the beautiful voices of our choir singing Shalom Rav, guarding our personal reflection to focus on the peace that we hope to inhabit in the year to come and the ways that we can help bring it forward, making it a reality. We turn to our video of Shalom Rav now.
The Vidui, our confession. We have prepared for this, some since Rosh Hashanah, some since the month of Elul began, some since today, and some make this a regular practice. We recognize, we admit, we apologize, and tonight we do this together. Why as a community of multiple voices? Why not alone? Well, we will have a chance for our silent vidui following our communal one. Our tradition affords us the mercy of doing this as a community first. Although our misdeeds may be different, we all have failures. We all have strayed from the path of our best selves. And the power of this particular confession, we do it together. We read it together so that no single individual has to admit wrongdoing alone or accept their failings alone. We admit and stand together. We also understand that we have a collective responsibility for the transgressions in our world. We have erred and we do misdeeds. We turn away and we permit. Yet just as together we recite these words to come to terms with the errors of our ways, we also come together to work together to right the wrongs that are in our hands individually and in our hands collectively. Page 82.
Tefillatenu Adonai Eloheinu Velohei Avotenu Vemotenu Tzadikim Anachnu Velo Chatanu
Our God and God of all generations, may our prayers reach your presence. And when we turn to you, do not be indifferent. Adonai, we are arrogant and stubborn, claiming to be blameless and free of sin. In truth, we have stumbled and strayed. We have done wrong.
Ashamnu, Bagadnu, Gazalnu, Dibarnu Dofi, He'evinu, Vehirshanu, Zadnu, Hamasnu, Tafalnu Sheker, Latznu, Maradnu, Niatznu, Sararnu, Avinu, Pashanu, Sararnu, Kishinu Orev, Rashanu, Shichatnu, Tiavnu, Ta'inu, Titanu, ay, 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 ay.
We continue on page 86 as we read together the first line in Hebrew and the following in English. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, the ways we have wronged you deliberately and by mistake, and harm we have caused in your world through the words of our mouths. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, the ways we have wronged you by hardening our hearts, and harm we have caused in your world through careless speech. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, the ways we have wronged you through lies and deceit, and harm we have caused in your world through gossip and rumor. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, the ways we have wronged you by judging others unfairly, and harm we have caused in your world through disrespect to parents and teachers. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, the ways we have wronged you through insincere apologies and harm we have caused in your world by mistreating a friend or a neighbor. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, the ways we have wronged you through violence and abuse, and harm we have caused in your world through dishonesty in business. Va'al kulam Eloha slichot, salach lanu, machal lanu, kaper lanu. For all these failures of judgment and will, God of forgiveness, forgive us, pardon us, lead us to atonement. We continue on the next page. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, the ways we have wronged you openly and secretly, and harm we have caused in your world by losing self-control. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, the ways we have wronged you through sexual immorality, and harm we have caused in your world through consumption of food and drink. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, the ways we have wronged you by giving in to our hostile impulses, and harm we have caused in your world through greed and exploitation. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, the ways we have wronged you through cynicism and scorn, and harm we have caused in your world through arrogant behavior. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, the ways we have wronged you by hating without cause, and harm we have caused in your world through offensive speech. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, the ways we have wronged you with slanderous tongue, and harm we have caused in your world through a selfish or petty spirit. Va'al kulam Eloha slichot, salach lanu, machal lanu, kaper lanu. For all these failures of judgment and will, God of forgiveness, forgive us, pardon us, lead us to atonement. Page 96. Let our needs rise up with the darkness, our cries with the rays of the sun. All our praises before you, songs of joy and bliss till evening comes. May our voices soar at nightfall, our just deeds shine forth with the light. All day we await deliverance, fervent our hope for redemption till evening comes. Let our suffering ascend at twilight, our forgiveness with the break of dawn. All day we sigh from oppression, cry out for right and justice till evening comes. May there be refuge when night surrounds us, at sunrise safe haven for your sake. All day our words rise from a sea of sorrow, and they break in waves of atonement till evening comes. We take a moment to offer our own vidui, our own confession privately, and then ask God to hear our voice as we turn to page 98.
Kol Nidre, השיבנו אדוני אליך. השיבנו אליך ונשובה. חדש ימינו, ימינו כקדם.
We now continue with Avinu Malkeinu, page 114, as we rise together. Avinu Malkeinu, Shema Kolenu. Avinu Malkeinu, Almighty and merciful, hear our voice. Avinu Malkeinu, Chatanu Lefanecha. Avinu Malkeinu, we have strayed and sinned before you. Avinu Malkeinu, Chamol Aleinu Ve'al Olalenu V'Tapenu. Avinu Malkeinu, have compassion on us and on our families. Avinu Malkeinu, Kale Dever V'Cherev Ve'Ra'av Me'alenu. Avinu Malkeinu, halt the onslaught of sickness, violence, and hunger. Avinu Malkeinu, Kale Kol Tsar Mastin Me'alenu. Avinu Malkeinu, halt the reign of those who cause pain and terror. Avinu Malkeinu, Kotvenu B'Sefer Chaim Tovim. Avinu Malkeinu, enter our names in the book of lives well lived. Avinu Malkeinu, Chadesh Aleinu, Shana Tova. Avinu Malkeinu, renew for us a year of goodness. Avinu Malkeinu, Malei Yadenu Mibirchotecha. Avinu Malkeinu, let our hands overflow with your blessings. Avinu Malkeinu, Harem Keren Mashichecha. Avinu Malkeinu, let our eyes behold the dawn of redemption. Avinu Malkeinu, Na al tishivenu rekam mefanecha. Avinu Malkeinu, we pray, do not turn us away from you with nothing. Avinu Malkeinu, kabel barachamim uvaratzon et tfilatenu. Avinu Malkeinu, welcome our prayer with love, accept and embrace it. Avinu Malkeinu, aseh manu leman shemecha. Avinu Malkeinu, act toward us as befits your name. Avinu Malkeinu, aseh lemancha imlo lemanenu. Avinu Malkeinu, act for your sake, if not for ours. Avinu Malkeinu, ein lanu melech ela ata. Avinu Malkeinu, you alone are our sovereign. Avinu Malkeinu, petach sharei shamayim litfilatenu. Avinu Malkeinu, let the gates of heaven be open to our prayer. Avinu Malkeinu, shema kolenu, chus v'rachem aleinu. Avinu Malkeinu, hear our voice, treat us with tender compassion. Avinu Malkeinu, hanenu v'anenu, ki ein banu ma'asim, aseh manu tzedakah v'chesed v'hoshienu. Avinu Malkeinu, almighty and merciful, answer us with grace, for our deeds are wanting. Save us through acts of justice and love.
Avinu Malkeinu, Shema Kolenu. Avinu Malkeinu, Chatanu Lefanecha. Avinu Malkeinu,
invite you to be seated. Our intention, our desire during these high holy days was to partner with you, to allow you to shape and create this experience with us. And so you'll find our full sermons online in separate files, separate links. Rabbi Chernow Reeder's comments for this Yom Kippur and my own, as well as my sermon from Rosh Hashanah. This holiday I chose to speak about grace, the concept of grace, and how it might help us in the months ahead to create a society that we can be proud of. But for now, I'd just like to leave you with a thought. Imagine yourselves with the Israelites at the beginning of their journey across the desert. In the Midrash, the Israelites are once again at the foot of the sea. There's seemingly no way across. The Pharaoh's army is rapidly approaching. The people, in a panic, turn to Moses, their leader. Surely he will know what to do, what is next on their journey. And they cry out, "Were there no graves in Egypt that you had to take us out here to the desert to have us killed?" And what does Moses do? He turns to God, as he always had. He prays some more, and nothing happens. Until finally God answers in an unexpected fashion. According to the Midrash, God says, "Why are you praying to me? My children are on the verge of drowning in the sea, and there is only one thing to do right now, Moses. Tell the children of Israel to start walking." God is reminding Moses that his prayer, while noble and a good cause, is actually pulling him further away from the problem that is in front of him. Be with your people now. Do the thing that you see needs to be done. Show up for those who need you. Prayer can be powerful, but here the ancient rabbis are reminding us sometimes prayer is answered by a call to action. Prayer leads us to conviction. Prayer leads us to social justice. The trick, say the ancient rabbis, is to hear that answer when it comes. For Moses, the answer is, it is time to move forward. The sentiment is summed up in a single word. It appears several times in our Machzor. Rabbi Chernow Reeder showed us this word on Rosh Hashanah. And since then, we have had 10 days to sit with it, to consider its call. The word that challenges us to avoid the trap of mindlessness and passivity and to start doing the thing that needs to be done, to focus on the task before us, to show up. That word is hineni, here I am. This word mostly shows up in Torah when the thing to be done is something hard. The response is something like, I hear your call, I understand what you're asking of me, and I am prepared. I'm ready to do it because I recognize, although it's hard, it is important that I act. The first time we hear this word, hineni, is in the very first chapter of Torah, the story of Adam and Eve. Having eaten the fruit from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, Adam and Eve attempt to hide from God, terrified of what the consequences might be for disobeying God's command. And God calls out, Ayecha, where are you? And Adam, in that moment, decides to take responsibility, and he responds, hineni, here I am. Spread out across the city and the country, separated by these screens, it is even more challenging for us to set aside distraction and to fully say hineni. There are so many distractions which keep us, even tonight, from being fully present. Every day we are pulled by incessant screens, by stress and anxiety, by work commitments, by overload. Our to-do lists drive our every waking moment. We are governed by traffic patterns and grocery lists, the endless minutiae of daily tasks. We become numb to those whose voices we need to hear, pulled away from those who love us and need our attention. We are living in a distracted time, in a distracted world. And we are distanced even from knowing that which we most desperately need to know ourselves. our emotions, our yearning, even our own pain. Hineni calls us to be more fully present to ourselves. I'm reminded of a powerful book called Let Your Life Speak by noted educator Parker Palmer. He says, before I can tell my life what I want to do with it, I must listen to my life telling me who I am. The next time we hear Hineni in the Torah is Abraham. He uses this word 3 separate times in the story of the Akedah, the binding of Isaac. Unexpectedly, he hears a voice, a call. And it came to pass, God tested Abraham, saying to him, Abraham, and Abraham responded, Hineni, here I am. When God receives this call, he recognizes it as important, he drops what he is doing, and he answers. Later in the story, after walking silently with his father toward the mountaintop, Isaac calls out, Father. And Abraham responds again with these famous words, Hineni, b'ni, I am here, my son. Isaac asks, where is the lamb for our offering? This Hineni is more familiar to us. It is a father's assurance that his son will not have to walk alone. Abraham provides the only comfort he knows how to give in that moment. We are together, Isaac, facing the trials that God has given us, but not facing them alone. The text continues after this event. The two of them walked on together. The Buddhist monk Thich Nhat Hanh suggests that the most precious gift that we can offer anyone is our attention. When mindfulness embraces those we love, they will bloom like flowers, he says. Abraham understands, and he responds to Isaac with Hineni. In this instance, Abraham responds to his God and to his son with immediacy, with a full heart. But we have not yet finished the story. The third time we hear Hineni from Abraham, he is in a very different place. We find, despite our own disbelief, that he has ascended the mountain and bound his son Isaac, the one he loves, to the altar. He has raised the knife to slaughter him when an angel's voice calls to him twice, Abraham, Abraham. And he responds again, Hineni, I am here. His awe for God, his love for his child, both are replaced by his pain. And Abraham summons himself to presence in this moment from a deep place of suffering. He is dedicated to his task, but what he sees before him is anguish and hurt and injustice. This is the third level of Hineni. It commands us to become aware of not only ourselves and those we know, but of suffering and injustice around us. Our tradition commands us over and over again. Remember the stranger, for you were strangers. Do not stand idly by the blood of your neighbor. What is hateful to you, do not do to another. If I am only for myself, what am I? If not now, when? And yet, in our world, in our lives, every news cycle is filled with the devastating stories of the suffering of others. Like Abraham, we are being called. How will we respond? Can we become more fully present in our own lives? May that cause us to be more present in the lives of our loved ones. And then can we learn that hardest lessons to become that fully present for the world which needs us? We cannot be in touch with suffering in the world if we have first not developed an empathy for others. It is Abraham's real test, and it is ours as well. Can our empathy turn into compassion? Can we avoid tuning out the degradation and frustration that scrolls along the bottom of the TV screens during the game, or take seriously our call to remember the stranger, those who are disenfranchised in our society? My colleague, Rabbi Amy Schwartzman, wrote of this call in a beautiful way. She wrote, I must admit, I don't feel confident about responding the way that Abraham did. I know that God is calling me even now, but the world is a troubled place. Life is complex. My understanding of the divine role is much less clear. Like many of us, she says, I come here today, Yom Kippur, with the hope that I will rediscover Abraham's conviction and awe-inspired readiness. My goal would be to embrace the Hineni attitude, even before I sense God's voice, to live in anticipation of that call. After all, God didn't call to Abraham because God wondered if he would answer. God called to Abraham because he knew he would respond. Hineni, I am here. Today I will hear the call that brings me into this present moment with myself. Today I will focus more of my attention, my love, my care towards those who I know need that from me. Hineni, may today be the day that we dedicate ourselves anew to the rebuilding and the repair of the entire world. Amen. I do hope you will take the time to see what we have listed for you on our website. There are many resources there to help make these days of awe and this Yom Kippur meaningful. We look forward to seeing you tomorrow. In just a moment, I'll explain how the services work tomorrow. Before we do that, we'll conclude our service together on the following page, page 116, with the Aleinu. I invite you to please rise.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים, לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא.
Page 121. Our thoughts turn to our loved ones whom death has taken from us in recent days, those who died at the season in years past. Our hearts open as well to the wider circles of loss in our community and wherever grief touches this human family of ours. Zichronam livracha. May their memories be a blessing in this new year and always. On page 122, I invite you to join with me in Mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah, bi'alma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon uvyomechon, uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uvizman kariv v'yimru. Amen. Yehi shemei rabbah mevorach la'olam ulamei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal shmei dekudsha b'richu la'ela u'la'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushvacha v'nechemata da'amiran bi'alma v'yimru. Amen. Yehi shlomo rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru. Amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu Ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, v'imru. Amen. We add that line to include in our prayer for peace all of those who dwell on earth. And before our service concludes, I'd like to make sure to thank several people who have made this such a beautiful experience for all of us. I'd like to thank, of course, our wonderful clergy team, Rabbi Jordana Chernow-Cooper, Chernow-Reeder. I did that last time too, didn't I? Rabbi Jordana Chernow-Reeder, Rabbi Roxanne Shapiro, Cantor Aviva Meir. Thank you to all of you for your wonderful presence. I'd like to thank our wonderful staff for helping us create all of this beauty online, to Dan Cillian, of course, and to his entire team. To thank you to the Brotherhood and the Sisterhood and our board for making all of these phone calls. They've tried to reach out to as many congregants as they can, and for helping so many of us have books as we follow along this high holiday season. To Patty Freeman Dorson, our Baalat Tekiah, Eli Bernstein, both of them for blowing shofar in person on Rosh Hashanah and at the end of the day tomorrow. I'd like to thank our partnership with WICR 88.7 for broadcasting all of our services. We are so thankful to Dr. Michael Messina, to Matthew Richardson, to our quartet, and our wonderful congregational choir, as always. We're so pleased that we found a way to bring them into this experience of Yom Kippur. To Paulina and Konstantin Umansky for their beautiful Kol Nidre. I would like to just remind us a few things about tomorrow. Our Nefesh style service begins at 9:30, and our Mishkan HaNefesh traditional service at 11. We have programming all day, including Yizkor at 4 o'clock and the Ne'ilah and Havdalah at 5. We hope that you'll find all of this and more on our website, our sermons, our Haftarah interpretations, a word from our president, and many teachings online. If you're looking for a place to end our meaningful fast together, our Life After 50 group, LAF, is sponsoring a Break the Fast with Friends on Zoom. You can find information about that online as well. There's enough gratitude to go around. We will have more time tomorrow together to express that gratitude. For now, let us end with an opportunity to say thank you, express gratitude to Adon Olam, the master of all creation. We hope that you'll join with us on page 126. Good Yontif. May this be a wonderful, holy day for you, a day full of meaning. If you are fasting, we hope that that fast is very meaningful for you. We say, Gemar Chatima Tova. May we be inscribed for blessing in the book of life. Shana Tova.